Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 250. David, we have made it.
I thought we were already there.
No, 250.
Nice.
Which is absolutely wild, which means this is the last episode of season 5. So next episode, which we're really not changing anything, we're just moving into our next year. So we do our seasons by years, and so this was the end of year 5. Starting next year will be the beginning of year 6. Year 6, wow.
Crazy.
Which is crazy. But with that being said, like it's been a lot of fun, and we've said a bunch of times over the last couple months of like we feel like we have more energy and more reason and desire to do this than ever. And we found new life through the kind of new format that we've done this year, which is where we just do a topic a month and then we kind of break down that topic into 4 weeks. And so this is actually week 3 of that topic. The topic for the month of April has been gospel-centered ministry. And so we've talked like I said, 2 weeks so far. The first week we talked about how the gospel has to be more than an event. It has to be more than an altar call. The gospel is transformation. And if we're not doing that, we're doing it wrong. And how we need to work on evaluating and rethinking what that gospel moment means. Because the gospel moment should be a gospel lifetime. And we are not tour guides of the gospel. We should be working on full transformation about everything that we do. We are called into new life, not a new moment. And so we talked about that in week 1. Last week we talked about preaching to students, which is a huge aspect of everything. But a lot of times we go to how do we share the gospel? How do we do this? How do we preach the gospel to kids that have already heard it before? And so that's what we talked about last week. And we just talked about the dangers of oversimplification. And then we talked through just different ideas of like how to teach for depth instead of how to keep surface level with the gospel. Maybe we attack it from different angles. Maybe we go into the nature of rediscovering the wonder of what the gospel actually is and how it doesn't need a new gospel. They just need fresh eyes to see it. And how we present that in a fresh eye manner to where the students can fall in love with the gospel message that they've probably heard multiple times over the course of their time in church. And which kind of brings us to the topic for today. And these don't really, they do build on each other, David, but I don't really feel like they build on each other as much as previous months have. But I think all of these are really, really important conversations to have. But with this week, we are going into what I titled this episode as is accountable grace, or another way to say this would be grace without lowering the bar. Without lowering the bar of expectation, without lowering the bar of compromising or anything to that nature. Like, what does gospel-centered ministry look like? Well, it's accountable grace. It's grace that comes with accountability. And I think the tension that we kind of find ourselves in youth ministries, we often kind of feel this pull to be gracious, but then we also have this other pull that's like, but we can't compromise the truth. And so like we kind of get in this tug of war of like, how far can we go with grace before we have to pound them with truth? Or how little truth can we sprinkle in so we're very, very gracious? Because I think both of those sides happen. And so like we're in this constant tug of war to where which one is going to win. But the idea that we need to understand is grace doesn't remove the standard. It empowers us to meet it. And so that's where the accountability factor comes into play, is grace doesn't need compromise. Grace needs accountability. And so I think for a long time, we've kind of had this kind of misunderstanding of what grace is. And I think part of that comes into the ideas of like, and this isn't a largely considered or largely followed understanding at all, but it kind of falls back to this idea of like, like if Jesus is going to save me anyways, why don't I just keep on living like I'm living? Because like, or we're like, oh, well, Jesus is okay that you're like living in this life of sin because like grace. And it's like, no, that's not the case at all. And so, like, once again, that tension, that pull back and forth comes back into play. And grace is oftentimes confused with, like, permissiveness. Like, are you permitted to do this? What is allowable and what's not? And then it also comes with incredibly low expectations. It's like, well, God says I'm a sinner and I can't do anything without Jesus, so I guess I'm just going to keep being a sinner. It's like, no. Like, we're called to be sanctified. Like, and so if sanctification is real and like that is the process of our lifetime, then ultimately we are walking a journey that we become like Christ. So, like, biblical grace shouldn't be compromising. Biblical grace, just like we've been talking about for all of the other avenues of this topic for this month, gospel-centered ministry shows that biblical grace transforms. Like, holy cow, I didn't die for what I should have died for, so I'm going to live for why I should live. So,
yeah.
I don't know, David. I feel like you got some thoughts there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I love this thought of, like, misunderstanding grace in that we tend to lower the bar because, especially for me, my pull is always, like, you could tell me you killed a guy and I'm going to be like, okay, that's really hard and you know, like, I'm going to go through all the things, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to love you. I am going to think of you probably a little differently than I did before you told me that, and I wish I didn't know that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like, I tend to be a grace first person, and sometimes I struggle with this idea of saying the hard truths, so to speak, and not like in the sense of like, oh, we can't say that because it's politically incorrect. For me, it's that I think sometimes, and we talked about this a little bit before we started the podcast, is you know, people tend to forget that as pastors we have struggles too. And a lot of times it's funny how the things that God is convicting us of the most are usually the things that someone comes at us to ask for help about. Now, I'm not talking about killing a guy, but I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
Do you have things to confess, David? Like, what's going on?
All right. Here's the little confession window. But what I am saying is like somebody will come up to you and they're like, hey, I'm just really struggling with anger issues. And I'm like, okay, God, I hear you. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was one of those things that I was feeling convicted about this morning. And it's funny how, like, sometimes like somebody will say something and they're like, this is just making me so angry. And your first thought was, bro, get over it. Like, that's so stupid. You know, and it's not always that way, but I mean, sometimes we hear things and we just go, that's so petty. But Grace would tell me, okay, I hear you. I hear what you're going through there, and I know that must be frustrating for you. How can we reframe it? You know, and so Grace becomes like I see the struggle, but truthfully, we need to reframe that because that's a little on you. There's a portion of the other person, I can see why you'd be frustrated, but you got to let some of that go, you know, kind of thing. And so it becomes truth and love. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. It's like when we think about how to model gospel-centered transformation is to say, hey, I love you too. One of my favorite skits of all time is God's Chisel by the Skit Guys. I love you too much. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's great. But in it, the premise is there's a guy named Tommy who is going through some stuff, and then he prays and asks God to make him better, and God just like magically appears. And he's got a hammer, and he's got a chisel, and he was like, I'm going to chisel away the things of you that are not of me. And you know, and he starts to do it, and he goes, whoa, okay, God, I'm good. Like, that's too much. Like, this is hard. Like, we've done a lot of improving, and God's like, no, I love you too much to leave you where you are. And that's where I think the grace aspect is at its best. When we say, I love you too much to allow you to continue to do this thing that is damaging your heart, your mind, your spiritual life, your physical life, your emotional well-being, like all of that. I love you too much to let you stay in that. And so grace, I love what you said earlier. Grace doesn't remove the standard, it empowers us to meet it. And so we get the opportunity to say, I love you too much to let you keep doing that thing that is killing you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you the truth. And you may not like it. You may not want to hear it. You may be mad at me for it. But I'm going to say it anyway because I would not be a good friend if I didn't call that out.
Yeah.
That's what accountability really looks like. And you can do that in a graceful way. I mean, I could look at Brent and say, dude, you're being a moron. Stop. Is he going to receive that well? Of course not. Well, actually, Brent's the kind of guy that would actually probably laugh and say, okay, cool. But someone like me maybe wouldn't receive that as well. But if you said, hey, like, and Brent does a really good job with me of saying, I'll say something. He goes, like, there was one particular example I remember. I wrote a song, and it was a very brutally honest song. It was something that I have struggled with my entire life quietly. I don't tell people about this, but I guess I'm going to share it with you guys now, um, which scares the crap out of me if I'm totally honest with you. I don't. Brent's laughing because I don't mind being vulnerable, but this scares the crap out of me.
No, it's just I've never shared this with anybody, but hello world.
Hello world. How many people actually listen to this? You know what I mean? But anyway, the people
So
that do probably are
now
gonna love me anyway.
for all the people that are listening, now you have to message David and be like, "Hey, I heard it."
I heard it, and I hope you feel bad. No, but I wrote this song, and I'm trying to remember the original title because I've switched it now. But it was called.
Doormat.
Thank you. See, he remembers because he was so mad at me for this. But I was like, my whole life, and I'm just being totally honest with you, my whole life I felt like a doormat. I felt like someone that gets trampled on. I feel ignored most of the time. I feel invisible. And it was a very honest song for me. And Brent was like, I hate that title. You need to change it right now. And I'm just like, but it's real. And I almost wanted to kick back and go, but that's how I feel. And if that's how I feel, then I need to say what I actually say. And he goes, you can say the same thing, but you don't. He was like, what you need to understand. And really, I should probably stop talking and let you just share what you said. But actually, I'm going to do that. Go ahead. Share what you said.
I
Because
don't
you said
remember
it.
what I said.
Oh, okay. It was like, essentially what he said is by calling yourself a doormat, you're living into it like it's an identity. And so essentially he took his thing and he just reframed it slightly, but he was like, I don't like you. I don't like that you feel that way. And I'm like, well, tough. I feel that way. And he's like, well, then stop. I needed to hear that. When he first said it, I almost just wanted to be like, yeah, but you don't know. I wanted to like defend, but I knew he was right. And so I reframed the song, I rewrote it a little bit, and I sent it to him, and he was like, that's great. Because he knew it was real to me, but he also loved me too much to let me live into that like it's an identity. Deal with the problem, yes, but don't put doormat on your name tag because you're not that. And just because you feel that way doesn't mean it's real or that it's 100% true. That's insecurity talking. And so I was able to reframe the song, and it actually helped me feel less like a doormat. I still feel invisible a lot of times, but I don't. I'm also not allowing people to just walk all over me. I'm speaking up more. I'm sharing some of these things, but because he said the truth, maybe with a little less grace than I would have, but he said the truth, and that's what mattered. And the thing about it is that there was still a grace component in all of it, but he said, no, 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 no. I see what you're going through, and I can even understand how you can feel that way, but I'm not going to allow you to wear that like it's like a badge of dishonor. That's not fair to you, and that's not who you are. And no, cut it out. He actually used the phrase "cut it out," and I was like, "You're right. I don't want you to be right, but you're right." And it helped me through it. It really did. I needed to hear the truth and love in that moment.
I don't know if this makes sense at all, but it's rolling in my brain and it feels like it does. Perspective is the difference between doormat and rolling out the red carpet.
Let me marinate in that for a minute. Say it again.
I mean, you said I'm a doormat to everybody. Are you a doormat or are you rolling out the red carpet?
Whew. Interesting.
Are you serving people in a way that makes them feel like royalty and they makes them feel like they're worthy? Or are you so focused on where you are that you're missing out on the opportunity to serve others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Perspective is the difference between doormat and red carpet.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit of a shift can change everything.
Mm-hmm. Going with that, I feel like a lot of our misunderstanding of grace, and I might be off here, comes from a misunderstanding of sin. I mean, in all reality is, I think if we misunderstand sin, we misunderstand our need for God, which in turn allows us to misunderstand grace.
Mm-hmm.
If sin is just mistakes, we just need improvement. If sin is rebellion, we need rescue. So, like, if sin is just a mistake that we made, then, like, we just have to fix that mistake and then we're fine.
Yeah.
No big deal. Like, it's just this small thing. And then I'll go back to doing what I was. But I totally, like, I'm pulling this out of, I said last week or the week before, I'm in a series on systematic theology right now. And my notes for Wednesday night, which is the night before this comes out, is we're talking about anthropology and hamartiology, which is basically humanity and sin. I'm just using the big terms because I've been teaching my kids the big terms, for the sake of they like it and they think it's fun. But like, if we misunderstand sin, we misunderstand our need for God. Mm-hmm. If sin is not rebellion, then we don't need rescue.
I was wondering if you just pulled out of your hat, or if that was coming from something.
I got my notes.
I was about to say, you said that so fast and so polished that I was like, this feels like a sermon.
And let me just land the sermon plane, because I feel like it's super relevant to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Christianity doesn't teach that we need to be better people. Christianity teaches that we need to be saved from ourselves.
Yeah.
So, going back to grace, like, if we use grace as this, like, permissiveness or this low expectation, then, like, we're allowing people to do a disservice to their understanding of sin. It's like, oh, well, it's just this one thing. It's not that bad. It's like, no, you're a sinner. You need to be saved. You are in straight up rebellion. We all are. But rebellion is okay if we understand that we have to be saved from it. Mm-hmm. Like the salvation aspect of it has to be there. And so I think Romans 6, grace does not lead to sin, more sin. Yeah. I mean, like, grace does not lead us to do more of it. Grace should lead us away from it.
Yeah.
So,
that's
like,
the transformation.
And I think if we misunderstand sin, we misunderstand grace. Mm-hmm. Because so I'm gonna get to theological nerd for a second. So sin, the Greek word is hamart or hamartia, yeah,
something like that,
which is basically missing the mark.
Yeah,
I hate that description of sin. I think that's one of the ways that they used to describe it back then. Mm-hmm. But I do think that leads us towards it's just a mistake and I need to fix this one thing error. Like, if I had aimed a little bit better, I would have been fine.
Yeah, and the other side of it is like, okay, I missed the mark. Boom, let's do it again. Like, and you just ignore that arrow. It'd be easy to like, oh, that I went way over the target. Well, okay, I'll go
Yeah.
grab it in a minute. Here's the next one, like, and we
Yeah.
just totally
I
skip
just need to
over the
try
fact.
harder next time.
Yeah.
And like
That's
I
dangerous,
understand
for
that
sure.
that's a very very like normalized discussion of what sin is. But like sin is not, I mean sin, I don't even know if this is a great description, but this is the best word I can think of. Sin is treason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I and I say that like loosely because we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
But like there's a different understanding of grace that comes from treason than missing an arrow.
Yeah.
Like you said, oh, I guess I'll just, aim a little truer this time. Like
Yeah.
that
I mean,
it's not.
and when you put it that way too, it's like, dude, both of us religiously watched The Arrow for a long time, and the truth is, Oliver Queen is a wonderful shot, and the things that that man can do with a bow and arrow
You
is
have
fantastic.
failed this city.
You have failed this city. But how many times did he straight up miss? Someone who is a professional archer misses from time to time. But I mean, even in that I'm about to put us down a rabbit hole I don't need to take us. But that said, it would be easy for us to just glaze over some mistakes that can. And here's the danger that maybe we don't necessarily consider is we could go, okay, I missed the mark, and then we go and we glaze over it and we go on to another thing, but then we turn around and we miss again and again and again. And if we're not careful, a pattern can start to emerge that we don't see because we think it's just a couple little things here and there. But that little thing ignored became another little thing that was ignored. And that little thing starts to become a little bit bigger. And it's almost like a snowball effect where it wasn't a lot, and then all of a sudden it was this massive avalanche coming at me, and I don't know how I got to this point. And it's like, but if you were to just take a few steps back and go, oh, I allowed that sin, I allowed that sin, I allowed that little sin, and those little sins became big giant walls that I don't know how I trapped myself, but now I feel stuck and I don't know how to fix it. Unidentified sin, undealt with sin will become a pattern. I think 100% of the time. Let's be honest, statistics are made up on the spot, but I think that
60% of the time it works
every time. Every time. We're not going to tell you what movie that's from, but if you know, you know.
every youth pastor probably knows what that's from.
Brent killed a guy. Okay, don't go down that. Anyway,
if you miss the mark enough, or if you miss the target enough, the target changes.
Yeah. That's a great way to land that one, buddy.
And I think of like a gun range and like shooting rifles at a target. You can miss enough that the target no longer becomes visible. Like,
I'd agree with that.
so like the target changes even if you miss, but you have to miss a lot to change the target.
Granted.
So, but I think that's the struggle and the dynamic that we have to hit is just this, like, Jesus is the model for this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think of the woman caught in adultery. Mm-hmm. It's like, he's like, hey, you're condemned to sin. I'm going to kill you. Sorry. No, like, that's not what he says at all. He's like, hey, where are all those that were condemning you? She's like, well, they've all gone away. He's like, well, I don't condemn you anymore, but don't do it again.
Yeah. Go and sin no more.
Go and sin no more.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think we've fallen into this idea that grace is like, oh, I'm sorry you messed up today. Let's try again tomorrow. Instead of like, you need to cut that part of your life out.
Yeah, prune.
If your eye causes you to sin, like, gouge it out.
Could you imagine in today's world? It's like I saw something I wasn't supposed to. You stupid, like.
But I mean, I think that's the mindset that like
Yeah.
Jesus was trying to come across. Is it's like it's not well, just try again and take a second look. He said, remove the freaking eye.
Well, and to be fair, like if most of us are told that we have cancer, most of us aren't just going to go, okay, well, Asta. Unless it's like an aggressive, like,
Yeah,
you are not going to survive this. It's terminal. You're
yeah,
dead. Even then, we want to fight,
hmm
but if I'm told, like, I have this thing, then I'm going to fight it. But
yeah,
maybe a better example here is, hey, you ran a red light. And you're like, no, I didn't. I know I didn't run a red light. I'm going to show up and I'm not just going to pay the ticket because I know I didn't do that. It would be like knowing you didn't do something and fighting hard, but yet there are times where we do things and we go, oh, well, I made a mistake. Like, yeah, I was going 12 over. Shouldn't have done it. All right, whatever.
yeah,
I'll slow down next time, knowing full well that you're not going to slow down. We've got to treat sin like it's something that can
yeah,
ultimately kill us. And truth be told, it is going to kill us. That's why we
yeah,
have plagues and diseases. Go back to Genesis. Sin entered the world and it's literally killing us. So we
yeah,
have to aggressively fight against it. And so that's why, looking at Jesus as the model of, yeah, I am not here to condemn you, but I am going to
yeah.
ask that you go and sin no more. He wouldn't have asked that unless it was possible. So we
Well,
got to
and
work towards
it's
that
grace and
process.
truth.
Yeah.
Like truth has to be accompanied or held account. Like grace has to be held accountable by truth.
Hmm.
Like, and so I mean, students need both. They
Yeah.
need to be taught both. They need to learn how that's acceptable for them, but it's also acceptable for them to do it for other people.
Hmm.
Um, Students need clear truth and deep compassion.
Yeah.
Like together, they can't come separately.
Yeah. We need to set high expectations and then give them opportunities to rise to those expectations. And they're gonna be excited to do so.
Yeah,
Truthfully, like there have been times where I go, man, I want to hold our students to a higher standard. And sometimes we could be really nervous, like what if those standards push our students away? But on the other side of that, what if they take it and run with it and they
yeah,
do so much more than you could have ever dreamed of because you gave them an opportunity to
yeah,
and not just the opportunity, but the trust. I can remember in times in my life when someone trusted me with something big and how I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to let God down or my family down or my community or church down. And so
hmm
I worked way harder than maybe I would have had
yeah,
I not been given that. And so it's in those moments when we set high expectations with clear truth and compassion for the student, knowing, hey, there's going to be times that I go back to in scripture. What is it? The parable where he get the master gives three men coins, or they give them money based on what
yeah.
they can do with it,
The
and
parable of the talents.
the talents. Thank you. And you have the one guy that goes, I know that you're shrewd, and I have to, I didn't want to lose your investment, so I buried it to protect it. And the master goes, I didn't give you that talent to bury it. I gave you that
Yeah,
talent to use it. And
yeah,
so I expected a profit because
yeah,
I gave that to you with the trust that you can do something with it. And
yeah,
so I think very similar to that is, in a very graceful and compassionate way, we can lead our students in a way that says, "Hey, I see the gifts and talents that God has given you, and I want to see you use it to make a difference." And so, in my world, that looks like media and music more times than not.
yeah,
Like, hey, you can play an instrument, great, use it for the glory of God and leading others.
yeah,
And I don't want you to waste that gift, and so, or cooking or whatever it might be with your students, but give them things that might pull them out of their comfort zone a little bit
yeah,
and and set high expectations and watch them like hit it out of the park, because more times than not that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to hit it out of the
yeah.
park.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. And that's the thing is like, I we got to understand that like if we don't give opportunities to raise the bar, which grace challenges us to, then it's never going to get met. Jesus didn't just challenge the disciples to stay where they were. Jesus pushed the disciples constantly. Change their expectations, change their understanding, like everything that they did. And they still made mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just this mindset of like, no, we are going to work on this where truth and grace coexist. But like, you can't do grace without truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just permissiveness. You're just allowing things to happen and you're not telling them what's wrong. You're not changing the wrongs that are happening.
And on the flip side, truth without grace can cut.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the truth is hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so with that, like, because, I mean, and like, this is the good news of the gospel. We keep coming back to this moment is like the transformative power.
Yeah.
Because Jesus rose, change is possible. That's the truth that comes with grace. Like, you can get over this. You can be rescued from this. But someone has to come and do the rescuing. Otherwise, you're going to be trapped in it. So we don't lower the bar. We trust God to lift people to it. That's the transformative power of the gospel. Like, it. So, I mean, I guess the question that we kind of have to kind of wrestle with, and I mean, I don't know if you have much more to say on this, is just this: am I more comfortable with truth or grace? Because I think, if all honesty, like, you said you fall way closer to the aspect of grace, where grace comes first and truth might come second.
Mm-hmm.
I am like, I don't care what you think, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yep.
And so truth is very much my first prerogative, and I'm going to say that was stupid. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you feel like you were wronged. That was a dumb choice. Like,
yeah.
And
yeah.
so, like, two very different ideas and two different perspectives of this. And I think that both of us are successful in what we do.
Yeah.
But we both come to the understanding of like, we've said this a couple times. It's like, I had a student that's a senior this year. She was like, yeah, when I want people to feel bad with me, I go to these people. When I want to fix it, I go to Brent. Like,
yeah.
And it's just that
100%.
mindset of like, grace is not my first response. My first response is, well, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that? Why are you allowing yourself to continue to do that? Step out of that, move towards this. I don't come off as graceful as I should sometimes. It's something I'm working on. Empathy was a struggle, and I didn't even know what empathy was when I started, and I am growing more empathetic with time.
Very much so. The Brent you are today is way more, not just empathetic, but just straight up like compassionate. Because I think there's subtle differences there, but the compassion that you lead with today compared to 15 years ago. Yeah, you're a big old softy now.
I got to go back to my old ways.
He doesn't want to hear that, but
yeah.
So, but I mean, to drive down the point, I mean, the beautiful thing is like identify leaders. So as you're leading your students, identify leaders. Like if you're like me and you're a little bit more on the gray side, have people who aren't afraid to tell the truth, and y'all do it together. Because I could tell you, like, we talk a lot about camp ministry because we direct together. There was a particular student that just really got under Brent's skin, and he knew it. I mean, he was trying to push
just
Brent's
one
buttons. Well, I'm just talking about one particular situation. But this kid knew Brent's buttons, and he liked to push them. And so Brent, very calmly, very as graciously as he could, told this kid what he needed to hear in love. I really do believe that. But the kid just couldn't receive it. He just couldn't. And so what did I do? I went and did I said the same words that Brent said to him. I said it in a different way. I spoke that kid's language, and so I was able to reach him in a way that Brent couldn't in that moment. Yeah. Now, had he not been being a little punk, I'm being honest, he was being a straight up turd. He would have been able to receive what Brent said, but he was being really defiant and a total, you know. Anyway, it was a challenge. So I just said the exact same thing Brent said. I delivered it on a platter. That's what
Yeah.
that kid needed, and so he received it well. And then after that, I don't think y'all had problems mostly the rest of the week. But that very situation could have been completely flipped the other way, where I was, being really gracious to this kid, and what he really needed to hear was, dude, stop it. And I don't mean hit the kid, but I mean, like, sometimes you need that, like,
I don't know.
that
Sometimes.
pop. Well, yeah, but that's not our job. That's how you go to jail, you pastors. Don't hit a kid. But sometimes truth needs to come out that way, in a way that goes, yeah, this is gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. But again, I love you too much to leave you where you are. So there are times where it's the exact opposite, and Brent needs to come in and go, stop it, and that kid goes, okay. But if I hold their hand, so to speak, I'm enabling that. And so that's why you need people on your team who balance you. Because the
Yeah.
graceful kind of person, we tend to be enablers. We listen, we care, we listen, we don't judge. That is so damaging, guys. It's funny, but it can be very damaging if you're not careful. You need someone to go, okay, I hear you, but if you don't
I
change,
listen and I judge the crap out of you.
yeah,
That's
if
my
you don't
mentality.
change, you're gonna get hit by a car. Like, you need people on your team who do both.
Yeah.
Balance each other out. Britt and I balance each other out beautifully. You need people on your team that can help you with that. If
Yeah.
you're brutally honest, have that person that can have that more tender-hearted conversation.
Yeah.
Typically, let's be honest, typically it's the guys are going to say the hard thing and the girls are going to be the ones that, if that's what it takes, then great. Just go
Yep.
identify those leaders, because at the end of the day, it goes back to what we said earlier. We need to lead students well. And we have to understand that we need both aspects, both truth and grace. And I don't really think any of us have mastered both to a point where we can do it alone. And even if we could, why? Empower your leaders to step up. Empower your other student leaders to step up in
Yeah.
that moment. It doesn't always have to be an adult. Sometimes it's you've got a really compassionate student that goes, "Hey, I'll have a conversation with that person." I do it all the time. I let if our students can lead, I tell our adults to back off. Let the students take it.
Yeah.
So identify those different areas in those moments. You see a student that's struggling with something, look at that leader, and you go, "Hey, go talk to him." You know,
Mm-hmm.
some of the best conversations come out that way. So,
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, I think it ultimately just boils down to the idea that, like, grace is great, but grace can't come from a place where it excuses sin.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
because it was too hard. It's not because it was just your circumstances or anything else. It's sin is sin.
you still made a choice.
You have to be rescued from it.
Yeah,
And so, like, grace doesn't excuse sin. Grace transforms people.
yeah,
If we are viewing grace from the wrong method or the wrong site, like, it is incredibly damaging, because kids will not work on being rescued. They'll work on trying to fix themselves by themselves. And, like, that completely negates the point and the reason for Jesus. If we can fix ourselves, we don't need him. So, 250. I don't really have anything else to say on the topic, but, like, I'm still kind of just blown away on the 250 episodes. Sorry.
you said 250, and for some reason my mind went to time, and I was like,
Really,
"What
really
clock
fast,
are you looking at?
wild.
It's 10:03."
No. Yeah. So for the ones that don't know, me and a guy named Russell Martin started this podcast 5 years ago. And our first episode, let me scroll. Hold on.
It's a lot of scrolling, bro.
There's a ton of scrolling. Our first episode, episode 1, came out April 29th of 2021.
Wow.
And
Right
so
up.
with that,
6 years.
yeah, with that being said, 5 years, yeah.
Oh, I
And
said
so,
6, my bad. I'm
yeah.
thinking
So,
2026.
yeah, we are in year 6. We're starting year 6
Starting
next
year 6.
week. But it's one of those things, and I while our episodes have changed, if you are newer to our show and you haven't listened for super long, we used to do where we had a new guest every single week. And it was just one of us, one of the hosts. And we kind of just used that as an opportunity to bring people in and talk to people.
Different perspectives.
And so, yeah, and just get different perspectives on ministry, which was great. And quite honestly, it worked pretty well for a while. But I'm going to be honest, like, it just got super, super hard to get a new guest for every single episode. And it got to the point to where a lot of our people could not find, a lot of our hosts could not find people to run episodes with. And so Russell became a pastor, and he kind of got busy, and he's kind of stepped in and out here and there. David came on. I was trying to figure out when you came on, dude.
I couldn't tell you.
So actually, you are episode. Your episode. So you were in our 100th episode.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Because you were in the 100th episode celebration.
Because I'd started like maybe a few episodes before that, I think.
Yeah, and so episode 97, episode 94, 92, so probably somewhere close to 90.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's where you jumped in. Actually, I think your first episode
Was with Cody, wasn't it, or Josh?
Was with Josh, and that was February 2nd of 2023.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so, yeah, man, just crazy. That's awesome. So David jumped in because we needed some help, and he gave us an opportunity.
Super temporary, by the way. I was like, I'll do like a couple episodes, and then Brent will be like, all right, cool, I don't need this guy. And there were several times where I even gave him an out. I was like, hey, I don't have to do this if you don't need me. Like, it's,
Yep.
It was interesting how it all transformed to what is. And, to think like it went from this thing where we put so much pressure on ourselves to have different people every single week. And all of a sudden, Brent and I don't know if it was necessarily an intentional thing as much as it was like, hey, for a season, can we just... Some of our favorite episodes were the ones where just Brent and I hopped on because we very last minute had to get on, and we were like, we'll just be each other's guests. Yeah. That's kind of how it started. It was like, okay, one of us is going to play host and the other one's going to play guest. Mm-hmm. And we realized, it was like, man, those episodes seem to be better, maybe because it took the pressure of having a guest be like, and happen to be on, and making sure we've done a lot of research on the topic. Not to say that we don't research, but we researched less than we did, let's be honest. But we could just be honest, and it's an organic conversation. And the conversations, not only during the podcast, but the hour or two long before, has been so transformative for our friendship that I think that has naturally led to more excitement, less burnout, and we just had to realize, it was like, this is the format that I think is going to be the most fruitful for people. And
without a
though
doubt.
we don't necessarily always hear from people as much as we did when we had guests, because you bring in a guest and you get their crowd in, and so you hear more comments and stuff like that. We don't necessarily hear it, but the numbers have not gone down. Actually, in some ways, they've gone up. Depending.
Well, and the wild thing is like so we publish through Spotify, and like one of the things that I posted, or I shared with David a while back, was like, we had a 999% new audience or something like that.
Yeah, we were
and
like,
it was
what?
like, how? Because like the numbers of viewers haven't changed, and so like, but then we also have like, shout out to the people in Norway and the United Kingdom.
And what was the other like really obscure place?
Norway, United Kingdom, and Oh, I don't even remember.
It was really obscure. I remember
Yeah.
going, what?
Yeah.
Like Norway's
Norway,
obscure,
United.
but
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but
and I
Norway,
hope
United Kingdom.
and for those of you guys in Norway and the United Kingdom and stuff like that, when we say obscure, we don't mean that in an offensive way. We mean like we were just like, whoa, people. We expect people from Texas to listen to us
Yes.
because that's our people.
Because we are nobodies in the middle of Texas.
We're literally nobodies, and we don't advertise this. And the fact that it made it all the way across the world, and people
Yeah.
choose to continue listening, like it wasn't like oh hey, I stumbled across this podcast. It's like you're in Norway and you've listened to multiple episodes. Like that's nuts. Like
Yeah.
that blows our minds in the best possible way, because that means like it reminds you like as big as this world is, maybe it's a little smaller than we think. And like if some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we are struggling with here in Texas, America, helps somebody in a very similar situation across the pond, like what a beautiful thing that is, like, and
Yeah,
how
yeah,
cool
yeah.
technology is and all of that. So we're just blown away that you choose to listen
Dude,
to
telling
us.
you, it's so wild. It's so wild. But yeah, so it's just it's crazy. It's one of those things that like, I mean, we've definitely had moments to where it's like, oh, well, are we supposed to be doing this?
Yeah.
Is it like kind of thing like
Is it
that? And then
fruitful?
it's like, holy smokes, like this is happening. Like this is legit. People are encouraged by it. People are appreciating it. Yeah, so it's United States is our number one, which expected. We're from the US. Canada is number 2. United Kingdom is number 3. Romania was the other
Romania.
one.
That was the other
Romania was
obscure
number
one. I was
4,
like,
and then
do they
Norway was
speak
number
English?
5.
Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So absolutely crazy, but
Yeah.
like just the mindset of like, and we say all this out of the fact of just like thank you. Like
Yeah,
that's
gratitude.
wild, absolutely crazy.
Student
But
Ministry Conversations is made possible by viewers like you.
yeah,
I've made that
the
joke
more
before, but I
the
still
more
think it's
you
funny.
know.
The more you know.
But all seriousness, like we totally appreciate you guys. We totally appreciate all that you've done for the podcast, listening to us rant and ramble and do all kinds of dumb things. Hopefully we've had some nuggets along the way. And really for 250, all we ask, and like literally there are 30 to 50 people that listen to this episode in the first month. All we ask is to hear from you guys. Like
Yeah,
that's all we
please.
want. We would love to hear about your favorite episode. We'd love to hear about a topic that you want to be discussed. We'd love to hear that you want to come on the show and be on one of the episodes with us. Whatever, wherever, or if we can just be that accountability or that person to talk to, we'd love that as well. But like that is
Also,
literally all we want.
Also, if you need to say the truth in love and say, "Hey, I disagree with what you said there," we want to
Perfect.
grow. We want to learn.
Heck
Like
yeah.
I said, we're nobodies from Texas. Sometimes speaking out of our butt a little bit because a lot of the times when we pick these
Yeah.
topics, these are very similar things that we're wrestling with every day
Yeah.
too, and we're figuring it out as we go. Like, yeah, we've been youth pastors a long time, but like we haven't arrived at any there's not a magical number. Like we're every day the climate is changing, the world is changing, youth ministry landscape is not the same as it was when we started.
Yeah.
And it's not the same as it was back in 2019. 2020 was a major youth shift. And so and there will be another one. There always is. And so
Yeah.
just know like we're not yes people. We're okay
Yeah.
with hearing even the things that maybe we need to hear. Maybe we're or maybe you like the format of having guests and you want to see that more often. Tell us
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
communicate.
Yeah, we do this podcast for y'all. I mean, it is
it.
definitely encouraging and edifying for us, but like our goal is the same as it was day one, to encourage, equip, and inspire youth pastors to be the best youth pastor for the church that they are serving in.
That's it.
That has been the goal since day one. That has not changed, and we don't plan on it changing. And so we are looking into year 6. Gosh, I can't. Pushing the next 50 episodes out towards episode 300, which is crazy. When me and Russell started this, we were like, yeah, it'd be cool if we could get like 20 episodes. And lo and behold, 5 years later, we're putting out episode 250. So we definitely appreciate it, but we'd love to hear from you guys. Take a second, throw us a comment, social media, You can reach out to us, Talk Student Men, on Facebook and Instagram, or you can reach out to me. Mine is easy. It's my name, literally, at Hey Brent Aiken on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me. I made it super, super easy. I stole that from Justin Herman, who was a guest on the show a long time ago.
How many guests have we had? Do you have the analytics for that?
Well over 150.
Man, crazy.
Yeah. And so, but with that being said, like, it's just, a lot of people, and we had a lot of repeat guests.
Sure.
But, I mean, I'd guess at least probably 140 to 150.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, which was cool. And it was a great season. And it was kind of the spur of how we got this going. But like I said, we've definitely found new life and a new push and new drive for continuing on. And that's just getting to fellowship with one another and hopefully still providing content that you guys want to listen to. So, David is on Facebook, D Pruitt, and then on Instagram, his is PRU Acoustic. And that's all in our show notes. You can definitely check that out, but we'd love to hear from you. So if that's a possibility, man, that would make our 250th celebration all the more special for us. But thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And as we've been doing for the last while, let's close out in prayer. And then you guys have a great week. God, we thank you for today. We thank you for the youth pastors that are listening to this, or just the people in general. We know that other people that aren't youth pastors listen to this. We thank you for the fact that, like, hopefully, whether it's our really bad humor or some experiential wisdom that we've been able to share through this podcast, ultimately, God, we hope that it glorifies you. That is the purpose, that is the goal, and we hope that through the process of that, we encourage and inspire the youth pastors that are listening to this, or the ministry leaders that are listening to this, whether they're volunteer or part-time or bivocational or full-time, or it doesn't matter. We just pray for the listener right now. We pray that you will give them comfort and peace and strength and joy for the situation that they're in, whether it's a good one or a bad one. Sometimes we need joy, we need strength, and we need peace even in the good times. And so I just pray that you'll meet us where we are. And God, as we said, we don't lower the bar. You lift us up to it. And so, God, we pray that over us as well. As we are continuing in the trenches of ministry, God, don't allow us to lower the bar for ourselves. Just allow us to be elevated by you and your grace, so we can meet where we're supposed to be. Because, God, ultimately, our goal is to be like you. Our goal is to be made perfect in your sight. And God, we feel that that process is a lifelong journey. So we just pray that we are making steps in the right direction. Be with us this week. Allow our ministries to go well. Allow us to be clear in our messages. And God, allow them to be focused on your purpose and your will and what the students need to hear from you. We thank you and we love you. Thank you for 250, as you are the one behind this. And God, what a blessing it's been. In your name, amen.